quote, contained, quote, like the flu. The president says no one saw this coming. Well, that's just not accurate. Our intelligence officials were warning of coronavirus threat in January. Just based on public information that I had, I warned the threat was getting worse way back on January the 27th and urged the need to put science first, draw on emergency funds to get response started, think about invoking disaster powers to respond. Many of us talked about the need to get the U.S. scientists on the ground to see firsthand what was happening in China, rather than relying on what came from China. My point is not simply that the president was wrong. My point is that the mindset that was slow to recognize the problem in the first place, to treat it with the seriousness it deserved, is still too much a part of how the president is addressing the problem. South Korea detected their first case of coronavirus on the same day we did. But they had tests and sophisticated tracing programs to stop the spread of the virus, so they didn't have to put the entire country on lockdown. We had none of that. So we're left with the only extreme social distancing measures currently in place. That's a failure of planning and preparation by the White House. Today, months later, Americans who need to be tested or still have no access to tests in many parts of the country. And in many places, our healthcare system teeters on the brink of collapse. Hospital beds are filling. Doctors and nurses are already running out of critical equipment. The federal government needs to coordinate getting medical supplies out to every corner of the country so we don't have governors competing against one another. As of late yesterday, we're told that the president still has not activated the authority under the Defense Production Act, which I and others call for him to invoke immediately and act on, to direct American manufacturers to make essential supplies. Trump keeps saying that he's a wartime president. Well, start to act like one. To paraphrase a frustrated President Lincoln, writing to an inactive General McClellan during the Civil War, quote, "If you don't want to use the Army, may I borrow it," end of quote. You know, we need to get in motion today, what we should have set in motion weeks ago. Any public health expert will tell you that in a crisis like this, you can't move too fast. You can only move too slowly. Let me be clear. Donald Trump is not to blame for the coronavirus, but he does bear responsibility for our response. And I, along with every American, hope he steps up and starts to get this right. No, this isn't about politics. This is simply too much at stake, too many lives, too many livelihoods, too many homes and families and businesses and communities at risk. I've laid out a very detailed, in-depth plan for what I think we should be doing. You can read it on joebiden.com. We need immediate action on testing, on research for treatments and vaccines, on leading a global response to beat the virus everywhere. But today, I want to focus on just 4 key points of action. First, the president must take immediate steps to increase our capacity, the capacity of our healthcare system, to treat the sickest coronavirus patients safely. I'm glad the president has finally activated the National Guard. Now we need the armed forces and the National Guard to help with hospital capacity, supplies, and logistics. We need to activate the Reserve Corps of doctors and nurses and beef up the number of responders dealing with these crush of cases. And in addition to that, we have to make sure that we are in a position that we are. Well, let me go to the second thing. I've spoken enough of that. The president must use the Defense Production Act to radically increase the supply of critical goods needed to treat patients and protect our healthcare workers and first responders, including the protective gear like face masks and critical equipment like ventilators so desperately needed in our hospitals. It means working with all our allies and partners to get supplies from overseas when available, dispatching U.S. military assets to retrieve them quickly if they are available. It means federal coordination of the supply chains to accelerate deliveries and get them to the right places at the right time, and much more. And we need to build an arsenal of democracy, as we did in 1940. We can make a personal productive equipment. Look, here's the deal. We have to do what we did in the 40s and the 20s, and the 2020s. And we can do that. We need to build a medical arsenal here. Third, the president needs to end the infighting and bickering with his own administration. Listen to the scientists and provide clear guidance. The American people are not getting clear leadership, clear action, and clear accountability. Management matters in a crisis. I've been there in the Situation Room. There are thousands of steps that need to be taken all at once. You need to be planning, not just for today, but for tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Is the White House actively planning for what it will take for the American people to begin to return to something resembling a normal life? I don't know. Just waiting to see isn't going to cut it. What are the conditions required, the capabilities that should be in place? What protections and protocols do we need to ensure that it doesn't simply start spreading again in the fall? They need to start planning now so the current measures stay in place for as long as they are needed, but not longer. And fourth, the president needs to set the right priorities for economic response. Our guiding principle must be to keep everyone paid through this crisis. Everyone. We should be doing everything in our power to keep workers on payrolls, make small businesses healthier, help the economy come out on the other side strong. The federal government should provide the resources to make that happen while still protecting the American taxpayers. We can do both. Unfortunately, as of last night, President Trump and Mitch McConnell were offering a plan to let big corporations off the hook. They proposed a $500 billion slush fund for corporations with almost no conditions. Under their plan, the Trump administration could even allow companies to use the money that they're being given to them by taxpayers' money to buy back stocks, increase executive pays, if that's what the Secretary of Treasury decided. They wouldn't have to make commitments to keep workers employed, these big corporations. They wouldn't have to tell the Americans where the money goes for months. Today, there's an active effort to fix that bill in the Congress that's going on now as I speak. So for workers and families and small businesses, we should be focused on them. No strings, and the no-string corporate bailouts makes no sense. Here's my bottom line. Millions of small businesses, like the family-run restaurant that's trying to stay open to pay its workers, they should get the funds they need. Big companies will need help too, but no blank checks. If corporations take money from taxpayers, they have to make an enforceable commitment that they will keep workers on the payroll. Workers, the worker who is seeing their wages slashed, they need to be made whole. Those who lose their jobs, they need strong, sustained unemployment benefits, whether they are gig workers or full-time employees. The family that will go hungry and needs food on the table, they need the help now. Social Security checks need to be boosted now. Student debt should be forgiven for now. Cash relief needs to go out as fast as possible to those who need it the most. And we can act quickly and we can do it together. We can put politics aside and meet the moment like governors all across this nation are doing. Governor Mike DeWine in Ohio, Governor Larry Hogan in Maryland, Governor Charlie Parker in Massachusetts, Gavin Newsom in California, Jay Inslee in Washington, hard hit, Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's briefings are a lesson in leadership. Republicans and Democrats all are rising to the moment, putting aside politics to do what has to be done. But they're looking to the federal government for more help. Finally, it's worth noting that today is the 10th anniversary of the signing of the Affordable Care Act. I'm proud of the role I played alongside President Obama, backing him up to bring Obamacare into the law, making it the law. It's now law, and I'm proud of the record it's achieved. But also today, in the middle of one of the largest public health emergencies in generations, the White House and Republican attorneys generals are actively pursuing a lawsuit to invalidate the ACA in court. They're working to strip millions of Americans of their health care and tens of millions of their protections for pre-existing conditions. I sent a letter this morning with a simple request. Withdraw the lawsuit, please. End this effort to take away people's health care. This is not the moment to add additional uncertainty and fear in this nation or to let politics trump doing what's right. Give Americans peace of mind. That's what they're looking for. Help. You know, in crisis, character is revealed. And each day we're seeing the courage and the heart of Americans shine through. Our military, our first responders, our doctors, nurses, healthcare workers. Of course, they're doing an incredible job, but also those who we don't talk about much. The grocery store worker, stocking the shelf, the mail and package carriers, the workers manufacturing gear we need to keep delivery trucks on the road, cooking meals to deliver, tending to our elderly loved ones, the journalists to keep us up to date and hold us accountable as leaders, the government officials working on this problem, and so many more. They're putting all of it on the line for all of us. And we need to give them all the help they need. And now, they need the help now. We need to be sure we never forget what they've done, because they're doing a great deal. Let me close with a thought. Deep in the heart of every American, I think there burns a flame. It's an inheritance from every generation of Americans that has come before us. That's why we have overcome every crisis we have ever faced before. You know, it's what makes this nation so special, why we stand apart. That flame is not going to be extinguished in this moment. If our leadership does its part, the American people will do more than their part. Because here's the simple truth. Ordinary, hardworking Americans have never, ever, 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 ever let their country down. So we need to get moving. Move faster. This is the United States of America. There's not a single thing we cannot do if we do it together. Well, God bless you all and those who are fighting this virus. May God protect you, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.